Hello and welcome to the Amplifying Scientific Innovation video podcast. I'm your host, Dr. Sophia Onoye, founder and CEO of the Sophia Consulting Firm, a life science marketing and communications consultancy that was established in New York City with the goal of amplifying scientific innovation. The goal of this podcast is to showcase scientific innovation stemming from global life science companies through conversations with senior leaders who share their unique leadership journey, corporate vision, and industry outlook. My guest today is Mr. Robert Bob Coughlin, who is the president and CEO of the Massachusetts Biotechnology Council, more popularly known as MassBio. Bob's mission is an important one, and it is to advance Massachusetts leadership in the life science industry and to grow the industry, add value to the healthcare system, and improve patient lives. Over the last decade, Bob has truly become a champion for patients by ensuring innovative companies have the best environment possible to research, develop, and commercialize breakthrough therapies and cures for people around the world who need and deserve them. I am glad that we're connected on LinkedIn, where we have over 470 mutual connections, and it is it's an absolute pleasure and honor to welcome you to the show, Bob.
Well, thanks for having me, Dr. Sophia. It's so great to be here and being able to spend time with you today.
It's my absolute pleasure. And we're going to start with what is my personal favorite question, which is, what is your definition of scientific innovation?
Well, innovation to me is really the ability to bring new hope to patients across the globe and those who are suffering from terminal and debilitating disease. You know, science that's been tested for decades is now becoming reality for patients everywhere. And for the first time, we can use the word cures to describe therapies, right? Prior, it was always, let's invent therapies that can, treat symptoms of disease. Now we're inventing therapies that treat the underlying cause of disease, and in some cases cure disease. That's innovation. And before COVID, right? Think of what's going on in COVID. The record for vaccine development was around 4 years. Tomorrow, it could be tomorrow, an FDA advisory committee could approve emergency use authorization for the first two COVID-19 vaccine, the first COVID-19 vaccine, which was developed in less than 12 months. That's innovation. What the amazing people that go to work each and every day to solve unmet medical need, they are executing on innovation. And gosh, they're getting better at it every day.
Well, that is the spirit, Bob. I could not agree with you more. I think one of the things I absolutely love about your definition is about bringing hope to patients. And our industry, if we forget the importance of patients, then I think we've lost the importance of what we do. So thank you for reinforcing that. Yeah. And you've done quite a lot in your career. So I'll be curious to know what you think is your most impactful professional achievement prior to your current role as the CEO of MassBio.
I mean, that's a wonderful question. And I think, I've been at MassBio so long now, it's hard to think of what's happened before that. But, I think about, why did I come to MassBio?
Yes.
Because when I was serving in the House of Representatives here in Massachusetts, my wife and I were pregnant with our third child. Oh. And we found out that unborn baby was going to have cystic fibrosis. He's over 18 years old now. Wow. So you think my goal in the House, not being a doctor and not being a scientist, was, and as a dad, right? I refer to myself as a dadvocate, a patient advocate.
Wow.
So as a dad, I think my most proudest moment was the fact that, we decided to have a positive outlook, change laws in Massachusetts so that there was a better environment, so that people at these biotech companies could do a better job, ultimately improving the chances that my son could live a full life. So I guess what I'm the most proud of, that we never gave up. We were persistent. After 18 years and $13 billion and working hard every day to make Massachusetts the best place in the world for the life sciences, and working with the Cystic Fibrosis Foundation to raise money to invest in companies, I think the thing I'm the most proud of is that after 18 years and $13 billion, my son on November 8th, 2019, so over a year and 3 weeks ago, took his first dose of Trikafta, and he is alive today because of innovation. So I get teary-eyed.
Wow. Wow.
So
Wow.
I think that's what I'm the most proud of is that, you know, I came to this industry to try to help my kid, and it worked.
Wow, I'm tearing up as well, Bob, because it comes back to what you said earlier around bringing hope to patients, but not just patients, but also caregivers and advocates, or advocates in your case, the people that are behind the scenes supporting patients, because it's not just a physiological component, it's a psychosocial piece, the emotional toll that chronic diseases like cystic fibrosis presents, but also for families like yourself that think about, my son has a disease, but I'm not going to be discouraged. I'm going to work with the communities to find a cure. And I'm so proud of you and your family for your bravery and your journey. Thank you for sharing that.
Thank you.
So my follow-up question to you is, you sound to me like you'll be an excellent leader of any organization, but what is your leadership mantra, and how did it contribute to your decision to join MassBio as its CEO, a position that you've now held for over 13 years?
Yeah, I live and lead by the mantra of what's next. Okay. And why do I say what's next? If you don't like the narrative of something, why not change it?
Right.
Change the narrative. Right. Yeah. And, you know, when you look at what we've been able to do, and, you know, after serving in the public, I learned that by leaving government and going to MassBio, I could better expand on the progress that this industry was making, because my thought process was that, you know, industry, academia, and government, they weren't working together 15 years ago. If industry, academia, and government work in a true partnership, there isn't a problem you can't solve. So really, you know, how do you, you know, our goal in Massachusetts, back then we were a top 10 life sciences cluster. We wanted to become the best in the world. How do you do that? Well, you need to change how you're doing things, and you need to focus on what's next. Now that we're on top, right, we're talking about what's next. Digital health, AI, you know, this whole convergence in the life sciences industry, biomanufacturing, viral vector therapy, cures. Let's not make medicine that is a Me Too drugs. Let's invent cures. And by doing that, you need to focus on what's next. So I guess, I don't know if what's next is a leadership style. I've been doing it for about 40 years now, and it's working. So I'm sticking with it.
No, I will call that visionary leadership, being able to sort of anticipate issues before they come about, and to be very collaborative in your approach to that. So I'm really enamored by your leadership mantra.
Well, and if I could add to that, I mean, I believe in lead by example. So lead by example. If you lead, people will follow. And I also believe in servant leadership, right? You need to, like, I'm all about the amazing people that go to work in this industry to solve unmet medical need. We need to give them what they need so that they can succeed. So it's about giving. It's about making sure people have the tools. It's about inclusivity, right? It's about acceptance. It's about all of these things that lead to success.
Absolutely. I like, again, the multifactorial aspect that you bring in sort of describing what your leadership mantra is. And you sort of alluded to it earlier, but I would love to hear a top line overview of projected 2021 objectives for MassBio, especially if you could focus on patient advocacy and health equity. I know that that's something that you're also personally interested in as well.
Yeah. Okay. And I apologize to your viewers because I keep saying that Massachusetts is really good at this. Hey, there's a lot of other places around the country and around the world that are really good at this, and I want them all to do better. But one of the things, the way we plan on doing it here in Massachusetts is really going into 2021 and 2022 is with like an enhanced focus on patient advocacy and health equity. Like health equity is so important, right? So, you know, we're going to continue to work with our membership, our vast membership, over 1,400 member companies now, to ensure that patients are engaged throughout the entire drug development cycle. We haven't done a great job doing that. We've gotten better. You know, we have our Patient Advocacy Summit. We encourage all of our member companies, small, medium, and large, to develop a patient advocacy department or group at their company. You know, so what we can do at MassBio is leverage our network of patient advocacy leaders so that we understand what needs to be done, so that the patient voice is not only heard, but listened to, right? And this, and I've learned a lot of this, not just by being here at MassBio, but my son was in 6 clinical trials before he was even 6 years old. As an advocate, I learned that companies should talk to patients. We should help design clinical trials, determine endpoints, et cetera. And one of the things that, this is especially critical for minority patient populations, people from underserved communities, they don't have the same access to healthcare that me and my kid had because of, you know, my privilege, my ability to pay for parking when we go to clinical trials, to pay for meals. Do you know how expensive it is to be in a clinical trial? How can somebody, 2 parents are working, or a single parent household, how do they put a loved one into a clinical trial? That's wrong. And if our clinical trials aren't diverse, are they really accurate?
I know.
Our clinical trial population needs to look like the patient population. So these are things that we need to fix. And these are things that, you know, I want to be an advocate for. I want to be an ally for. And when you talk to CEOs in our industry, you know, there's things we can do to make sure that access is out there. I mean, I'll start crying right now if I think that there's a kid out there that can't get as good treatment as my son because they might not be as well off. That's wrong.
I know.
That's not what we're all about. And so those are things that at MassBio we want to change, and we will continue to change. And you know, we can do that. I talked earlier about this academia, industry, and government. You know, with those 3 groups, that's the only way we're going to address health disparities, through these partnerships and through state and federal policy and through advocacy. And we can do that. But it means that hospitals and the clinics, pharma companies who are sponsoring the trials, right? Government, when, you know, Medicare, Medicaid is involved, all of these groups need to get together to make sure that everybody has access to the trials and then ultimately the therapies. And if we don't do it, shame on us.
No, I couldn't agree with you more. No patient should be left behind. And I think if we continue to focus on the usual suspects, we're going to miss out. And if there's anything that we've learned from COVID, we are one global community. You cannot have this not in my backyard approach, because we're all going to be affected in some way sooner or later.
Yeah, Sophia, COVID is a horrible thing, okay? And many the loss of life, the tragedy associated with it is enormous. But when times are tough, it forces us to do things differently. It forces us to do things better. It shines a spotlight on things like healthcare disparity, okay? And I used to say, oh, adversity in healthcare and disease doesn't discriminate. Well, it really does. I was wrong. See, I know that now. So we can use what we've learned from COVID to do better. There's going to be several silver linings to this COVID cloud that we can benefit from. And if we don't learn from it, you know, it's our fault, but we will.
I agree. I hope that the changes that we make will be sustainable. Now, I know Boston, Cambridge is considered to be the #1 life science cluster. And in your opinion, what is it about Boston and Cambridge that is so attractive, especially for investors and startups?
Okay, well, I don't think I'm letting any secrets out. It's certainly not the weather. It's not the weather, and it's not that we have a great public transportation system. It's right. The weather's horrible. It's really cold here, right? And it gets really hot in the summer. So but that being said, it's the talent. It's the people, right? And when you look at just where I am right now, I'm sitting right in the heart of Kendall Square and 700 Technology Square. I mean, I can walk from where I am right now to, you know, the best colleges and universities and NIH-funded hospitals, right? Multinational biopharmaceutical companies, the best and brightest minds, from all over the world, right? So when you look at the fact that we have 122 colleges and universities, 18 of the top 20 pharma companies that we've recruited here, that partnership between industry, academia, and government supports it. And on top of that, you know, the NIH-funded hospitals, the disproportionate large share of NIH funding that we compete for and win, that's what that creates the science, that creates the companies, that the people fuel, and that's how you move innovation along. And it's about an ecosystem. You need to have balance, and you need the talent. You need the government structure through statute and regulations. You need the infrastructure. You need the buildings. You need the engineers. You need the biomanufacturing, the research, the development. And when you look at how we've been able to pull all those ingredients to this wonderful recipe together has been truly amazing. I've had a front row seat to it for the last 14, you know, almost 14 years that I've been here at MassBio, and obviously for the last 18 years since I really cared a lot about this industry when little Bobby was born. So, you know, and then at MassBio, you know, we have partnering. In January, we have our first ever partnering week. So we put together, we call it, this is our solution to JP Morgan out in California. We put together partnering week where the pharma companies can actually connect with all the baby biotechs to do deals, right? So it's all about, at MassBio, we convene, connect, and catalyze. Granted, we're doing it virtually now in 2020, but it's still working. We have mentoring programs like our Mass Connect program. Any of the viewers, if you go to www.massbio.org, you can see all of the stuff that's going on and get access to it. But yeah, it all comes back to talent, the people. That's our natural resource. Talent.
Yes, I can personally testify to the power of MassBio. I'm a member through my affiliation as a Yale entrepreneur in residence, and it's so comforting to know all the great scientific discoveries that are coming out of Massachusetts. So bravo to you on that. So my next, you're welcome. My next question for you is a recent bio report indicated that diversity decreases at higher levels of management in the life science industry. Now, you mentioned that you have over 1,300 members. How is MassBio leading the charge for increased diversity and inclusion at the C-suite?
All right, let's back up and talk about this. As we say in Massachusetts, this is wicked important, okay? Why is this so important, okay? Now, let's talk about the fact that in New England, right, you've got Yale, Harvard, UMass, so you've got all these, Brown in Rhode Island, right? We recruit the best and brightest people from all over the world to get educated here, okay? So when you talk about diversity, right, and why diversity is so important, and why the soon-to-be previous administration stance on immigration is so bad. Forget about it's wrong. And forget about the fact that, you know, equity, diversity, and inclusion is the right thing to do. It's the smart thing to do. It's good business. The more diverse any organization is, the better the outcome is. Scientific fact. So another mantra of mine is, and I talked about changing the narrative, if you don't like how things are, then let's change how you do things.
Right, okay? right.
We talked for years, why aren't there more women in C-level, C-suite jobs when more than half of our workforce is female?
Yeah.
That seems like low-hanging fruit to fix. Right? Separate from diversity, right? Racial diversity. We're talking about gender diversity first. So we decided, and it's been written in books, it's been in stories and we didn't do it to get stories, but we decided at MassBio, we're never going to have an all-male panel ever again. I'm never going to sit on an all-male panel. We're not going to participate in other people's events that have an all-male panel. And we've seen in just a couple of years, because women need to be showcased on panels the same way men do so that they have opportunities to grow in their career. And obviously there's other things that you need to take into consideration and other barriers that we thought that need to be removed and whatnot as it relates to work and life and family balance. But we can do all that, right? So we started really being, you know, I use the word intentionality. If you're not gonna, when you're hiring a C-level position or a board position and there's no female candidates, stop, back up, do it all over again. Try a little harder, cast a wider net. There's plenty of smart women out there. There's plenty of smart people from all different racial and diverse backgrounds, right? So let's do it. So in July, we released our open letter 2.0. The 1.0 really got the ball rolling. 2.0 was the CEO pledge for a more equitable and inclusive life science industry. Okay, it's about executive culture. It's a major component of this pledge. You need people to change their behavior and how they do things at an executive level. So under this pillar, they must C-level folks need to commit to one of the following: the pledge to expand C-suite circles and networking opportunities for diverse audience. Ensure all leadership is committed to champion ED&I at all levels. Adopt a not on my watch attitude, like we're going to make the change and do it, and use your influence to advocate for change. And even we're trying to encourage people, executive level compensation. You don't get your bonus if you're not making your organization more diverse. Why not? You tell me how people get paid and I'll tell you how they make decisions. So absolutely. So these are the types of things that we're working on. And to date, I checked in with the team yesterday. 206 CEOs from across all the industry have signed on to the letter. So you've got 206 companies that have changed the way they're doing things. So you know this, Sophia, we're not going to change it overnight, but we will change it over time. Absolutely. And it's one of the coolest things that I've gotten to be involved with. I don't know if you've noticed, I'm a white Irish Catholic male, heterosexual Democrat from Boston. I don't look like diversity, but let me tell you this, Sophia, and I'm getting all jacked up right now because when you think about why is it so important, again, I don't want my kid to die. So I want every single shape, size, color, whatever person to be a part of this mission to solve unmet medical needs so that I don't have to go to my kid's funeral. If we all look at life like that, do you think you just want a bunch of white guys going to work to try to figure it out? It's not going to happen quick. Right? I know. So these are good, not just the right thing to do, these are good business decisions. So why won't everybody sign on board and do it? And when you have these discussions like we're having, people go, yeah, you're right, let's do it. It's a movement. Right.
Right. And, I love the call to action. There's intentionality for the sake of it. And there's actually action when you start to put sort of words and activities behind what you're thinking. And I like how you outlined what your activities are that you're planning to do to increase diversity and inclusion. So thank you for that. Now, I'm curious. I imagine this would be like asking you to pick, your favorite child or your favorite toy or something like that. But looking back at 2020, what would you consider to be the top scientific innovation that emerged from the great state of Massachusetts?
I mean, it has to be COVID-19. Yeah. I mean, since about March 7th, I've worked almost every single day around the clock because, the world realized that the only way we were going to get out of the problem that we were in is through science. Yeah. We have, in no time at all, we've got 90 companies in Massachusetts proper that are doing COVID-19 related research, whether it's in diagnostics, therapeutics, or vaccines. I think what we're going to hear from our federal government tomorrow around a COVID-19 vaccine, when you look at the two front runners, first ever vaccines to use messenger RNA technology, one of them developed by a Massachusetts headquartered company, Moderna. I am so proud that we here, and again, this is scientists all over the world are working on this, so we can't take credit for it, but it's very awesome to think that I can look out my window and look at Moderna and know that this is happening. So again, as horrible as COVID-19 is, it made everybody realize how important this industry is. Everybody, my son told me, he said, Dad, he's always worried about needing a medicine. He goes, it's almost like my friends understand now, because if they don't get a vaccine, they can't live a normal life. And
Right.
I try not to use the word normal.
I know.
Because what is normal? But
I know.
if you're an 18-year-old young man and your friends see that you can't do everything that they do,
I know.
and now they're in the same boat, he's like, I feel like everyone understands how important what you do, Dad, is.
Wow. As a father, I'm sure that is like honey to your ears, right? When your child understands the importance of your work, and when it all seems to all just fall together. So thank you once again for sharing that story. So I have two more questions for you, and we have roughly 5 minutes or so. So you sort of alluded to this earlier in terms of, industry and academia partnerships. But what are some other key consideration factors that you think will be important for sustaining innovation in the life science industry?
Yeah, we did, over the last couple of years, we worked hard with various stakeholders and consultants, and we call Massachusetts the state of possible. And the reason I like that is because, look, at 15 years, we didn't think we were going to be able to cure diseases. We can. Yeah. We have. So I always say anything's possible. When my son was born, he wasn't going to live a full life. He is.
Yes.
So
yes.
The state of possible is here geographically and physically in Massachusetts, but it's also a state of mind. Okay? So we're sitting here saying, we did the State of Possible 2025 report, which is our 5-year strategic plan. And we outlined various areas that we needed to focus on. Even though we do a lot around rare genetic orphan diseases, we're still a cancer town here in Massachusetts. So we know that we need to expand our R&D footprint of all oncology and rare disease beyond that, right? So that we can, look at, we don't do enough in antibiotics and vaccines.
I know.
Right? Let's do more of that. So how do we make Massachusetts the center for convergence of biotech, medtech, and digital health? I love when I talk to my pals out on the West Coast, because I'm like, hey, you guys crushed us in the computer business and high tech. But now when you look at life tech and health tech, we got all the ingredients here. We're going to win that, right? We want to do that. And who benefits from that? Patients. So that's two areas. The next one is biomanufacturing. When you're going to make viral vectors, large molecule drugs, these are tricky things to make. We have a great workforce here in the Commonwealth, a high-end manufacturing workforce. So we want to bring biomanufacturing back to Mass. That'll make our ecosystem more resilient to external shocks like pandemic. I mean, look at, we can't get, API materials, because if they're made in, Asia, India, and we have a pandemic, how do we get the stuff that we need? So we're really putting together a whole manufacturing strategy here in the Commonwealth. And then also, everybody talks about Cambridge and Kendall Square. Let's talk about Massachusetts as a tech park in its own, all the way out to Western Mass, where we border New York, all the way up north where we border Vermont and New Hampshire, all the way down to south at Rhode Island. I like regionalism. We should look at it as New England, not just Massachusetts, because we're growing across the Commonwealth. Kendall Square in Boston's full. We need to continue to grow.
Well, thank you so much for that very expansive response, Bob. I appreciate it. And in closing, do you have any other commentary or thoughts that you would like to share with our audience?
Yeah, just that the future is so bright, right? I know 2020 has been a difficult year. We're worried about people's physical health, mental health. This pandemic has been horrible, but think of this, folks. For us to be able to get out of this pandemic with a vaccine in less than a year, it's because, and I say this, we're not in the golden age of science anymore. We're in the platinum age, right? We're in the platinum age of science, and no one ever could have predicted that the pandemic would happen and people would learn the value of this industry. So, we got to leverage our strength to address these disparities that we're talking about. Let's ensure that everybody has equitable access to these vaccines and treatments. This is an opportunity for us to shine. Let's show that everybody can get a vaccine in a fair, equitable, cost-effective way, right? I tell CEOs in our industry, we're either going to shine, which what we need to do, or we're going to fall on our face. And that is not an option. That is not an option, because when we come through this, we're going to get back to business so that people with cystic fibrosis and Duchenne muscular dystrophy and Alzheimer's and Parkinson's and ALS and sickle cell, like we gotta do this and get it done, because we can pick them off one by one and cure these diseases and get people back to wellness and good health and working and loving one another and just enjoying life. And that's what we all deserve. And I think that's what we're all going to get. I'm an optimist right now.
Yes, but it ties back to your definition of scientific innovation. It's about bringing hope to patients, and you've brought hope to all of us just by listening to you. Thank you for sharing your personal story. Thank you for shining light on the great state of Massachusetts and what makes it such a great life science cluster. It's been such an engaging and interesting discussion with you today, and I truly appreciate your time, and I hope that we can reconnect again in the future.
Yeah, let's connect in person next time, Sophia, okay?
Absolutely. Thank you and have a great day.
Thanks, you too.